call the meeting to order. Let roll call show that all of the conference are here. If you're able to, please rise. Pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Make me ready.
Now we can get started.
Now we can.
There we go.
Now we.
You missed the grand opening. We'll start off with, agenda additions or revisions. Council.
I don't have anything.
None.
I have nothing.
Okay. Okay,
Make a motion to approve the agenda.
we have a motion,
Second.
second, any more discussion? Here now, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, that carries. Consent agenda, 3.3 and 3.4, where do you, is that, those were the ones you wanted to change?
Yeah.
You had a request for.
Yes, and they look good this time.
Okay.
Sound good.
Anybody else have anything on the consent agenda? Wish to remove? Questions, comments?
Motion to approve the consent agenda.
Have a motion,
Second.
second, any more questions, comments? If not, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And that carries. And we'll move on to the open forum. It'll be on the agenda, so. You have anything, Michelle?
I have
Anything or
nothing,
anything?
no.
Okay, you get the floor, sir.
You can step to the podium. Mr. Mayor, members of the council, this is, Isaac Carly. He's with Rio A. Daily. He's been working with myself and Keith on various staff. On the, you missed Nick.
I'm sorry.
Oh,
Oh, no, he's got, okay.
Sure.
Yep,
That's too good.
yep, there we go. I'll just have one for the file.
Nick missed everything.
Yep, you can keep that one. You can just give that one to Sean if you want. There you go.
Perfect.
Anyway, Isaac and his team are with Ideally, who did the, prepared the space needs study on behalf of the city and the public utilities. And we're here just to provide you the information tonight. There's really no action, required. This is really information gathering for future decisions. So this will be the foundation of any future actions the council may want in regards to city hall spacing. I know Keith's commission has looked at this. They received it last week. And so tonight, it's just an opportunity for Isaac to present the information, for you to ask any questions. And then we'll finalize the report, and it will just be, again, a foundation for future discussion and decision making. Floor is yours, Isaac.
Thank you so much, and thank you for having me, Commission, Mr. Mayor. Nice to see you all, meet you all. So yeah, I'm just gonna walk through the report. You have it, I think, in your packet, and you also have it in front of you at the moment. I'm not gonna go through everything, but I wanna walk through the structure of it so you can understand the logic and get a little bit acquainted with it. Imagine you will want to take it in a little bit more on your own time, but, so flipping to the first page, table of contents, just as a way to walk through what the structure is. So there's this executive summary, which talks about sort of where the study came from, as Michelle was alluding to, defining principles that sort of guided our study. And then it goes into basis of need, which is essentially establishing what the existing conditions are, challenges as we see them from an architect's perspective, designer's perspective. Also, as Michelle noted, we did a lot of engagement with staff around this. So the challenges reflect feedback we got from staff. And then space needs is essentially us building a program, what we think, or no, it's not necessarily building a program, but it's starting to set up how we think your space could function, should function based on what we've heard from your staff and then also what we've seen as a firm doing a lot of this work. And just maybe stepping back, we do a lot of civic work. That is my sole focus is, I'm a project manager for the OA Daily, and I'm a registered architect. I have a background in engagement as well. So I like to do a lot of this early planning work, but as a firm, we do a lot of justice center work. We do a lot of civic administration building work. Got a portfolio of 100+ years. So and we have a team of about 20 in Minneapolis who are working on these projects solely. So we see a lot of these buildings is what that is intended to say. And then it goes into the master plan scenarios, which again, like the first section, we split out into City Hall and Princeton, and the public utilities. And then there's 3 different scenarios and we'll go through those. And the appendix has all of the background information that's sort of supporting what's in the main body of the report. Turning to so actually just looking at the next page, the executive summary, I just wanted to read through the defining principles that we set up throughout this process, working with Keith's staff and your staff at the city. The first one was determine the appropriate space for current operational needs while allowing for minimal growth in the future. Serve the community effectively, providing accessibility, privacy, safety, and transparency. Furnish staff with effective spaces, allowing utilization of modern tools, and then develop a cost-effective strategy, recognizing the financial impact on taxpayers and ratepayers. Any questions before we dive into the rest of this? All right. So the basis of needs section, I'm not going to go through these again in detail, but I will just say, we are counting your lease terms. When is that coming due? Recognizing that's a major driver of this study for you. How many employees you have, seasonal employees you have, and then just listing out an approximation of the square footage you have in your current space right now as a way to compare what we would recommend. And then I think ultimately, just from our perspective, your space, your staff has done a really good job of trying to make the space work that you have, but it's undersized for your needs. It's finding storage wherever you can put it. People are sitting next to the coffee maker in the middle of the space. I'm sure all of you know sort of the challenges with the space. But we also notice that it lacks sort of modern civic standards in terms of safety and privacy. Specifically people sitting at the front desk or public coming in, not having the ability to sort of, when their conversation is happening, everyone's hearing it. There's not a lot of waiting space out there as well. And then one thing we often see too is having a conference room that can be accessible both from the secure side of your space and from the public side, so that your staff doesn't have to walk into the lobby just to meet with a member of the public in the conference room. So those are 2 sort of highlighted challenges. And then ultimately it just limits you operationally. And from what we've seen, that tracks. So we broke it down into customer service, working environment, council needs, conferencing, employee wellness, storage functions, and building core. Again, you'll see this sort of structure in the program, both here and then when we get into the scenarios. So we tried to sort of communicate how much space was there, what are the challenges with those spaces as we see them. And you can go through that information and ask specific questions if you have any as well. And then we have a space needs at the end of this section, which gets at what would be our recommended sort of program for these different spaces. And that information is in the appendix of this, sort of noting how many offices specifically, noting your conference room specifically, how big we might want those spaces to be, and then so on. So for conferencing, wellness, storage as well. If you go back 1 page, back to page 3, this shows, we call it a bubble diagram, just showing the relationships of your spaces. Again, we wanted to show this as a comparison when we started looking at what we think an optimal layout might be. Again, we're still in pre-design, so we're not thinking about what the actual size of the space is. Really specifically, we're just trying to think about what relationships might be optimal. And you can see this, you know, from a storage perspective, it's kind of spread out throughout the entire space, which is typical from what we see with organizations who are trying to just make the space that they have work, but not how we would design it. So if you go to the next page, on page 5, you can see a sort of a comparison, what we might recommend for a sort of a spatial organization in a newly designed space. And then the next few pages are public utilities, going through a similar space needs and sort of existing conditions. Yep.
If you just back up just a half a second.
Yeah.
Page 6 is a bubble diagram. That's sort of the more of a conceptual idea of how better laid out space might look, or how the relationships actually kind of function better versus the way that they are now. I just wanted to, since we talked about the first bubble diagram.
Yeah.
Second one.
Yeah, my apologies. Thank you for bringing that up. Yes. Any questions on the sort of existing conditions? Okay. So if we jump to page 13, master plan scenarios. The first page is just sort of an introduction to what this section is, and then it shows on the top sort of section of this the different scenarios 1, 2, and 3, and then sort of going down the graphic. Again, we see working environment, customer service, etc. Your existing space, what we recommend for your space needs, and then it shows for the 3 scenarios what those square footages would be. The first one, we'll go to the next page. So the first scenario is if you were to buy a building and renovate it. The second scenario is if you were to relocate your city hall to a new space, a new building, brand new building. And then the third would be if you were to co-locate your space with Public Utilities Administration, which is again a big component of this study, was trying to understand your individual paths as a city and individual path as public utilities, and then could there be some synergies in co-locating with one another. Then you'll also notice that we have we're sort of calling baseline cost scenarios. You know, we recognize that all the costs in here are estimated from Rockwise, which is an estimating group. They're a very reputable group. But we also recognize that you don't know when you're doing this project. So these numbers you're seeing in here are reflective of today's market as we understand them, but there would be escalation depending on when you would build this. Typically, right now, we're seeing escalation with building costs to be about 5 or 6% per year, compounding year over year. So it definitely gets expensive as you push these projects out, but they take time to plan. So that's why we chose this baseline cost scenario, because ultimately we figured it might just be important for you to understand which path you should choose in relation to one another, recognizing the costs at some point will be what the costs are. So your renovation costs. So if we look at the first section, the first scenario, again, this is on page 15. This is assuming that you could buy a space, renovate it, and fit the 12,000 square foot program that we'd recommend in there. There's pros and cons to each of these. The con to this is definitely you'd have to find a space that would fit those needs. You don't know how that, at this point, you don't know how that building is functioning, what updates it might need. So this cost is simply showing what we would expect sort of renovation costs to be on a space of that size. That's laid out below, but there's also the building purchase and the site work that would be included. So when we say it's 31% of the baseline cost, that is like bare minimum, and that's probably not even fully realistic, but we didn't know what the other factors were, so we didn't take a guess at it. So if you go to the second page, this is relocate. This is the sort of scenario that we understood was probably the most feasible from what we heard from your staff, recognizing that you have 2 city-owned properties west of your police and fire. And you could put a building on that lot The page 17 is showing what that layout might be. Again, these are very conceptual. You could cut this many ways, but essentially this is showing a building of that size with the amount of parking needed based on city zoning code. And then on the left side of the spread, you'll see that there's an estimate of about how much that would cost. So we're showing a 13,000 square foot building. What we'd understand a building of this to be from a dollars per square foot number, that gets you to about $11 million, again, in today's dollars. And then we typically anticipate soft costs around 30% for any project. That includes any sort of moving fees you might have, permitting fees you might have, and owner costs, but then there's also design costs. There's furniture, fixtures and equipment. So if you think about anything that sits within a building, you tip the building upside down, what might fall out. That's typically within soft costs. And there's plenty of other things. We could get you a breakdown if you were curious about that, but we typically anticipate that's about 30% of construction costs. So that would get you a total project cost in today's dollars of south of 15 million. But all of that is obviously negotiable when you start to think about quality and size and what you would like to do. The next page is the co-locate option. This is showing if you were to combine the needs that we identified for Public Utilities Administration as well as the city, what size of building might you need in order to make that happen, recognizing there's some shared synergy within a boardroom, within bathrooms, possibly other conferencing spaces. And again, those programs are laid out in the appendix, but we came to a building size of about 16,000 square foot, north of 16,000 square feet. The right side of the spread shows what that size building, again, with the required amount of parking might be and how that might be situated on the site. And you can see that you still have quite a bit of space on the south side of the site. And we're showing a drive lane on the west side of the site to get you to the south side, just to show you that you could still fit a building on there and utilize that south side for a future project if you wanted. And then we noted trying to understand what the cost might be for each entity. On the estimate breakdown on the left side, we noted PPU chipping in about 1/3 of this cost, city chipping in about 2/3 of this cost. Whatever that is something you'd come to an agreement upon if you chose this option. 1/3 and 2/3 was basically our estimation based on the square footage that PPU would be taking up in this building and the city would be taking up in this building. But that could be caught many different ways, obviously. So those are the scenarios for the city. And I think I'll just point you to the appendix. Again, if we go to page 32 and on, you can see some existing photos of both City Hall and Public Utilities. And then there's further drawings and programs deeper in the appendix. And then there's also, once we get to pages, once we get into Appendix C, I believe it is, you can see some of these bubble diagrams that we worked through. And then there's also some room data sheets, which are relevant to this study, specifically showing you typical size of conference rooms, typical sort of layout for a council chambers, desking options, and private offices. So with that, I'll maybe just ask for questions or clarification. Oh, I'm sorry, actually, one more. If you go to page 31, my apologies, we put together a graphic that tried to measure sort of each of the options based on the defining principles at the front of the report. You see green, yellow, and red in that graphic. So we just tried to show green means meets, yellow is partially meets, and red is does not meet. So we tried to show for each of scenario 1, 2, and 3 what we would anticipate, how those options sort of meet your needs, depending on that defining principle that we set up at the start of the project, to help you again, we try not to provide a recommendation as much as provide you the information that could help you make a decision of how to move forward. So.
So a question relating to scenarios 2 and 3 for City Hall. It says 2, under defining principle 2, strengthens civic presence and wayfinding, but 3 partially meets, but they're both in the same location, are they not?
Yeah, they are. I guess what, we talked several times, we talked a bunch about like, could there be a confusion in having both of the entities together? I think the why I put a yellow, and that might not even be correct. I mean, you can also quibble with some of this. This is a draft report, so if you want to change it, we can change it. But also, that's where I came from, was just, that's maybe a challenge in putting the two entities together that have not been together. It could be a benefit, but it could also be something where it's like, well, which way do I go? So, yeah, that's why I put that.
Do you have like other projects you've worked on where they have shared government operation spaces where like everything's kind of centrally located, like in a government building or things like that? How do they normally deliver services in the public space where like the public comes in? How do they know where to find what? Or
Yeah, we see it a lot with county buildings specifically, even within a county, you don't know, okay, I'm here, but I need to pay my taxes. And sometimes people just go to the first window, but the first window might be Veterans Affairs or the first. So oftentimes, I think what we've seen is most successful. Everyone says people don't read signs, is what we hear from people all the time. What we've seen is most successful is there's someone there to sort of direct you and take your questions right up in the center lobby. And they say they get asked the same 4 questions all the time, right? But that is one way we've seen pretty effective. But we also talked about with this project, having a central lobby and just trying to very clearly articulate, this is the city, this is public utilities, and separate them quite a bit. Giving people sort of a central entry point, so they have to make a decision one way or another, and that might force them to read a sign. But again, that's a question, that's something you try to tackle in design, but yeah, those are some ideas.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Anybody else have any questions?
Oh, I think it's pretty self-explanatory. It's easy to understand.
Can I ask Keith a question?
Yeah.
What's Keith's feeling on a co-space versus separate spaces?
Again, I think Leo A. Daly did a wonderful job in kind of laying out pros and cons. We really tried to look at all the different scenarios. For the co-location, that is actually the most expensive option for the utility, because we still have addressing needs on the field services side. And then there's the potential benefit on having the administrative staff together, but then the utility would lose that same coordination that it has with the admin staff and the field staff, which is really important for serving our customers. So that's why I really like that summary graph, because there are trade-offs in every scenario. I think the commission hasn't made a decision on that, but those are the factors that I think they're going to be weighing.
We had this presentation at our last meeting, so we didn't give you any deep discussions, but pretty much like Keith just said, for an overview. Library place. Yeah, I guess my opinion is, I haven't done a lot of it, I guess, but I guess I had a little experience every county with some of the kind of deferral, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean,
Michelle.
we were pleased, I think Nick was on the interview panel when we interviewed the 3 final firms that we felt really understood the assignment. And Leo A. Daly's been really good about a lot of open communication. And again, we didn't ask them to tell us what to do, but we asked them to give us information about what we would need. Now, mind you, if this project for the city side doesn't happen, we have a few years yet before we have to talk to the school district about, the lease we have with them. And in the interim, we'll be scanning paper and moving things to an electronic storage system. So that means today's storage needs might not be as great as storage needs, say, in 5 years. And maybe the renovation piece becomes more attractive if, again, because we might need less space. The key, I think, or the challenging piece is the need for a civic space that would hold the public for a public meeting. So that would be maybe challenging in trying to utilize an existing building. Plus, we don't necessarily have a lot of existing buildings that are available right now. But who knows, in 3 years, 5 years, 7 years, before that lease with the school district comes to kind of a closure, we need to figure out at that point what we're gonna do. But this does give us some really good information to move forward with, in terms of what we wanna do next. So, and that's really what our goal was, I think, both on the PUC side and our side was, okay, what do we need? And what should we be planning for? And I know, I know our Chief Frederick has issues with staff security and safety and just trying to address the current lobby, the way it's currently laid out. So this space does have shortcomings, especially in today's day and age, and that's a sad thing to say, but it's the reality that we're faced with, so.
I know I've been sitting here for 7 years looking at that door. It's like, how fast can I do that?
So, but like I said, we're not asking the council to make any decisions, we're just presenting the information to you. And as we continue to develop our long-range CIP, this will come up because we will have to make some decisions. We just don't know when that is or what day will that be. And I think the other piece of this, and Bob and I have talked a little bit about this, is if the council will recall when we had the joint session with the airport and we talked about snow removal equipment for the airport and that building. I think one of the pieces that we can probably handle in-house between Stacy, Bob, and I is looking at the public works facility and again, is there some synergies that we would want to do? As Isaac pointed out, if we were to relocate, there's still space on the lot that we've identified for meeting some additional public works needs at the same time and saving some money and not building $1 million space need or snow removal storage building just because we have federal requirements. So I think there's a secondary piece that can get added to this that we can do in-house that we need to look at too. Is not just
Good point.
not just this space that we need, but I think, Bob's made some comments to me about needs a new sign storage building, and we got the snow removal equipment, and the feds don't fund mowing, and, so there's gonna be some other long-range purchases, and where do we put them? Where do we store them? Do we have space on the current site to store them, or do we need to think about sort of a satellite location? And I don't know what that looks like, but I think that's kind of a secondary piece that we should be thinking about.
Kind of speak to the public utilities, they have more components than just the administrative area. We have a lot more components involved, so. But until you do a study like this, look at the pros and cons, you gotta have something to baseline to get you going.
Yep.
And this is what we're doing.
And if I
You
may,
did a really nice job. Yeah.
if I may offer from a timing perspective, I mean, you're in a good position in terms of this space, but, typically we see design can be 6 to 12 months, depending on how fast you need to go or want to go. And then construction for renovation can be as quick as 6 months. It can be take up to 9 to 12. New construction, we typically see 12 to 14 months. So all in all, you're looking at probably a 2-year process essentially to get you where you'll need to probably have a designer, an architect on board, and then to get into your new space. So just think about that in terms of planning.
I can. Sure.
Yeah.
I always have lots of questions, but if this isn't the right forum, let me know. But I was just curious if you're familiar with any like creative revenue building spaces that they like co-opt into these kinds of spaces, like in Bemidji, they had like the GigaZone with the internet provider partnered and they have co-work spaces or like you can kind of run like a nonprofit out of one of the spaces within that government building kind of thing. Is there any like examples you might be familiar with that might be good for consideration?
Yeah, I mean, I can get you a more detailed list of this too, because I'm relatively new to Leo Day, so I'm still getting used to our portfolio, to be frank, but we developed the North Metro Training Facility, which has a lot of different, you might be aware of this, a lot of different public safety entities come together and they've worked out an agreement of how they're gonna pay for the space, both in terms of building and then in terms of operating. That's a pretty unique agreement that I think a lot of planning went into, and they built a model from the ground up. We have a city hall that we did recently that is in a private developer took it on, and they are condoing out the main level of that building as the city is, and then there's housing above. And then, yeah, I'm gonna get you a few examples, specific ones that you could look to, but I think there's definitely different models you could look to help pay. And sometimes I think with the one where they're condoing out the main level, I don't think it was actually cheaper for them. But it did spark some development around there. So it's kind of a trade-off, like what do you want to put money into and what are you looking to get out of it? But there are definitely different creative solutions you can do. Yeah.
Great, thank you.
Yeah. Good question.
Yeah, of course, once we do get into it, actually get serious about doing this, those will be things that will be considered and true.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, anybody else? I guess,
Thank you so much.
thank you.
And I hope I'm not rude. I'm gonna try to beat the weather a little bit and take off. So,
Yeah.
thank you all. Have a great evening.
Okay, looks like we have no old business. Funded with resolution 25-63. Donation. Damian.
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, the memo in front of you is a donation from Damien's office in regards to Shop at the Cop that's coming up soon here. I think this is the third or fourth year that Damien's done this.
Something like that.
He doesn't remember. Our 13th annual Shop at the Cop, which is, this started like, hey, we should do this, and it's just been great since then. So, we've worked out a date of December 9th with Walmart for it. So, Damien's money, thank you, Damien, will go towards purchasing gifts for the kids from the Princeton School District. We identify with the school.
What time on the 9th?
4 p.m. to 6-ish.
Since I am one of your rappers extraordinaire.
We will need your rapping expertise. So, it goes well. I have a bunch of people that love to come and help and rap, and some that I need to turn away because they're not good rappers.
Is it December 9th?
It's okay, you'll get better.
Okay.
I just think December 9th, yes.
Well,
We do get other donation, don't we?
well,
I'm sorry.
We'll get other donations.
Yeah, so, what's that? Well, we'll have to interview you.
And I feel like, rapping, I'm not talking.
talking.
That-
Not talking singing by any means.
Mr. Mayor, we have, so if you recall, we write that grant through Walmart, so money from that grant goes to this. And then also, Burnix gives money to Walmart. So at the end of this, it'll be about 25-ish, $27-ish that we use.
But every dollar counts, so thank you, Dean.
It helps. Yes, thank you,
But,
David.
yeah, I was just asked about that the other day, if that was gonna happen, I said, as far as I know.
Yeah, believe it or not, it takes a little bit of planning with, the counselors, and, obviously, it's not me, it's Officer Joseph that does all this, so she does a phenomenal job. Planning with that in Walmart and those kind of things, have to coordinate that a little bit.
Okay, anything else? Action,
I'll make a motion to approve resolution 2563.
second motion, second. Any other questions? All in favor, say aye.
Right?
Opposed? That carries.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hey, use of excess money, and give it to me.
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, as we talked about actually in October, we sort of preluded that we would have excess TIF funds coming back from decertified districts in Sherburne County, so 6-1, 8-1, and 8-2. Previously, you directed us to put them in the Park Improvement Fund. And I am recommending that we do the same with this chunk of change, so.
Yeah, I'm certainly in favor of putting in funds like the park improvement, more aesthetic type stuff. And we have a lot of needs too, but for this funding, that's a better fit for it because for what we need, it probably wouldn't be pocket change.
Yeah, well, I mean, we definitely need to, find ways to fund our park improvements, so. And I think that, whenever we have an opportunity, we're blessed that we have a lot of community support, community donations, and so in the future, that's where those funds will go into the same fund, just to keep it separate from park dedication funds, so it's a little easier to not get in trouble with the statute. But yes, as we, see opportunities, that will likely be our recommendation going forward.
That's awesome. I mean, we do have a lot of stuff that we have on the books that need to be done, and then with that development, oh,
West Plains.
yes, West Plains. I keep wanting to call it the Pontiac property.
Yeah, that's
West
okay.
Plains. Wow.
We need to see what it is.
And they donated that 13 acres, so yes, something we'll have to have money to develop that into a park at some point.
Yep.
Else? Okay, we need action on that?
I will make a motion to use the return to TIF funds and add that to the parks budget.
Have a motion?
Second.
We have a second. Any more questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That carries.
On behalf of the park board, thank you.
Yeah, we are. Yeah, well, we've seen a lot of improvements in our parks, and how many do we have total, like 7 or something? Just add them all up.
9.
Nine.
And we've certainly seen improvements over the years. All right, move on to 7.3, Public Works budget.
Yep. All right, so, Public Works budget, Bob, has a phenomenal knack for remembering all his budget codes,
Yeah.
and,
Phone numbers. I call them decks. He doesn't forget a phone number if he does at one time.
Anyway, so, we'll start with administration. So this covers, primarily Bob's salary plus a third of the public works supervisor's salary in terms of the payroll. And I don't know, I'll answer any questions. You will note that, insurance and bonds is going down. I just got word from LMC that both workers' comp and liability insurance premiums are actually going down again in 26. and unfortunately, our insurance calendar year is not the same as our fiscal calendar year, which is terribly highly annoying to me, but
Yeah.
so makes budgeting a little bit difficult. So the second half of 26, we'll see lower premiums because that's when the insurance cycle starts, but in terms of the capital items for this budget, we are proposing to replace the overhead doors and openers in all the buildings, and there's a request for a van lift, so. A van lift.
I just turned 40. I've been thinking about one of those myself.
Maybe.
Question on this one.
Yeah.
So effective January 1st, Public Works was, we approved them to go from a part-time seasonal to a full-time, and where would those?
Refer to the,
Where would those hours be under what the?
I will tell you as soon as I find the spreadsheet of wages.
Okay, streets?
Yep, so the, yes, no, so AJ's replacement is in streets.
Yeah.
The new staff person, the converted position is
Yeah.
going into parks.
Okay.
Yep. So that'll be under 45, 50. I believe.
Yes.
Thank you. Here's a little confirmation from the other side of the yes. So that's where those numbers are going.
Okay.
So.
And there it is.
You're welcome. Yeah, if anybody ever wants the Bible or the spreadsheet of wages, I'm more than happy to share it. It's how we calculate the personnel costs. It calculates wages, which includes step increases, includes the insurance plus FICA and para and all that fun stuff, so. That's what I call it, fun stuff.
Very entertaining.
Yeah. Are we moving on? I don't wanna interrupt anything.
Just a random question. I don't just,
Yep.
my eyes just might be blurring from looking at these and it's new to me, but it seems like a lot is coming up next, like this coming year in 26 as compared to later projections. Is that because they're kind of estimates of what we think might come up and then those will get filled in more later as we approach those years?
We're
Or,
talking about the CIP?
yeah, the capital
Yeah.
improvement.
Yeah, so the CIP is basically, it's our best guess going out 10 years as to what the city by department needs.
Mhm.
So some things have a useful life of so many years. So like, for example, a fire truck has a 30-year lifespan. Bob, how long is a plow truck good for?
It all depends, you know, and so what I look at is I pick a date out 15 years,
Mhm.
and then if we do our due diligence on maintaining it, I can push it,
Right.
and we'll keep pushing it until we go, okay, we gotta let it rest and move
So
on, get something.
So some things, you know, because it's only a 10-year window, that's why there's a column that says next year replacement. Because sometimes those items are like roofs are 25 years out. But we need to acknowledge that they're there because when I started, the CIP was a 5-year. And when I started my professional career 35 some odd years ago, the public works director for the city I worked in and the finance director literally had a 20-year CIP that was in a massive Excel spreadsheet, and they carried it across the various enterprise funds and whatever. So I've stretched this to 10 years and have encouraged all the staff to think about things that, because I see this as a communication tool for not only the council, but also for future staff,
Mhm.
so that they're not caught with their pants down because something just showed up.
Which may have happened to someone in this room. So we're trying to prevent that. So if you see it, just because it's on for 26.
Yeah.
I mean, we're gonna get it in 26. I can converse with my staff and I look at, just specifically to the plot.
Mhm.
And we determine will it last and what its needs are and how it's performing.
So another good example, the reason that there's like, say if you go to the police department's budget, there's a in the CIP, there's an annual squad replacement because we have how many squads? 7, 8?
Thank you, Bob.
8, so, we're always replacing one a year.
Mhm.
And then there's gonna be that odd place where we have to replace the K-9 squads. So, for example, this year was supposed to be, correct me if I'm wrong, was supposed to be a standard squad, but because the K-9 squad was
Yeah.
having issues, we flip-flopped.
Mhm.
So everybody's kind of watching their stuff and saying, okay, I can stretch this a year, or oops, this was on the calendar for 2030, but we gotta move it up to 29 or 28 because we don't think we can put enough bubble gum and duct tape and building twine on it to make it last till 2030. So the CIP is really just, it's like this laundry list of things that we know we have to take care of. And it's our, we hope that the crystal ball is functioning the day that we put it together, but it could break tomorrow and then we gotta move things around.
Yeah.
So,
And we're gonna miss 26 budget, so we won't look on that line. If there's something we can kick out of there to lower our levy or whatever.
Right, that's kind of.
yeah, and the
Future doesn't do that, only this year does.
Yeah. So the CIP expenses are either gonna come out of the capital reserve fund. So on an annual basis, if we levy and budget and everybody does a really good job and we're under budget, the excess money we levy unfortunately doesn't go back to the taxpayers, but it goes into the reserve, which we then invest. And then we can pay for various things.
Mhm.
Occasionally, like with fire trucks, we'll bond for those. And then, we have bond payments that have to be paid, but, in general, we have a fairly healthy set of investments,
Mhm.
either through the, savings account at Old National or through our RBC broker. We have about close to 5 million plus in investments, through RBC and probably close to another 5 million in, the savings account through Old National. So, and all that money is being constantly invested and I'm always looking for the best prices to grow the city's money, so.
And those kind of money, is maybe a little bit thing too far ahead, but if we have a big project, which we have a few coming up, maybe we do a combination of draw down a little bit, at that little bit, whatever, spread it all over, but we can always draw down a little bit of our reserves.
Correct. I haven't looked at the policy, but there's a financial policy and there's a recommendation about how much you wanna hold in reserves for.
Yeah.
Yep. So,
For example, we did some building projects at the county when I was on the board, and we did draw down reserves for a couple of them. To save.
it's no different when, does it make sense to pay, 4% on bond payments when your money's only making 1%,
And the walk on shop we paid for it.
Yeah.
Smaller amount.
You just gotta look at what your long-term capital or what your long-term outlay is gonna be versus what you're making in terms of your interest on your investment. So those are all types of things that we look at, so.
Thank you.
All right, so storm sewers. And this will be a conversation that we're gonna have next week, is, establishment of a stormwater utility, which, we found out that we could do, this could have been implemented like many, many years ago, but wasn't. And we can use it for quite a number of things.
Can you explain a little bit?
So, stormwater utility will be, similar to a franchise fee, but it's a separate line item on the utility bill. It's specific for handling stormwater improvements, so it would be, for example, Third Street, there's a stormwater component to it. Say, for example, Bob is occasionally has to rebuild a stormwater manhole. We could be budgeting for the materials and the labor costs. In another 7 years, we're probably gonna get a letter from the state that says, you now need an MS4 permit, which is a statewide stormwater permit requirement. We can use the stormwater utility funds to pay for the consultant to do the permit and also to pay for part of the staff person because they're going to be doing things like sweeping streets and cleaning out those manholes and those types of things to maintain water quality. Also, some cities have used it to pay for the replacement of said sweeper. So it's very flexible, but it is another source of revenue that we can use and specifically, I think our first priority obviously would be to cover the stormwater improvement costs that aren't covered by other revenue streams, such as Minnesota state aid. So it's something that we'll have more information next week.
When are you thinking about implementing that?
Well, you should ask. We just had a conversation, we had an engineering meeting today. And we talked about, the franchise fee, the stormwater utility, and all that information will be presented to the council next week.
Okay.
And if, you concur with kind of where we think we want to head, we would start working immediately to concurrently work on Third Street design and implementing an updated franchise fee and implement the stormwater utility all in one fell swoop next year. We'd be very busy. Luckily, the franchise fee ordinance was already done once, so it's just a matter of updating the language in the ordinance, and also working with Keith's staff. Keith wants to make sure that, because they're collecting it on behalf of us, that however we implement it, makes sense and is efficient. But the franchise fee, we've already done it once. It's just a matter of updating the language in the ordinance and the scale. We might have to do a small study on the stormwater utility to set that amount too, so.
So that'll be a separate fee all by itself then.
Yeah, it would show up on a separate line item, just like the franchise fee does, not linear.
So like on the Third Street project, I know I picked up, and I'm not an expert by any means, but it seems like there's gonna be a pretty fast improvement, like that word, probably strong, of our stormwater drainage with the new rebuild. It's probably well needed, I'm sure.
Yes, I believe
So
that's,
kind of, if we want to incorporate those costs into the cost of the street, they're looking at it.
correct. So the stormwater utility that we would collect would offset those construction costs.
So that's how
Yeah, some of the costs that are factored in for stormwater would be paid for by Minnesota state aid. Some of those are eligible. The rest of it that isn't, which is about $500,000 under the engineer's estimate, which is of course an engineer's estimate. Until we actually bid the project, we won't know if it's gonna be that high. That would be covered by the stormwater utility as a revenue stream.
where the older part of the city new development, we have options of like drain ponds or seven ponds, what we don't have in the old district so much. So.
All right, any other questions?
Anybody else have any questions? I did pick up on that question I asked you earlier, Michelle, but I can't find it now. Frosty decorations.
That's in the CIP.
Keep the decorations.
Yeah. So that's under the streets, I believe I put it under streets, it's under the CIP. And it's, we're kind of jumping to the second page on the streets budget, but, we've had conversations internally that, the holiday decorations are aging and need replacement, and, Keith has indicated that based on purchasing things that on sale, that in all likelihood, the PUC will more than likely be able to replace them, but being a good partner, I added money to our CIP in the event that they would request a small contribution from the city. I didn't want us to, again, get caught with our pants down and.
Where is that?
Page 2 of the streets budget, it says contribution to new holiday lights, $7,500.
And the reason it caught my eye was because the utility commission had given their staff to go ahead and kind of take over the lights.
Yep.
So informal, maybe, I don't know. They had some issues with stormwater water this year, and with that, that's just no, that's not to worry about.
Anyway, so moving on to the actual operating budget for streets. We have questions. Can I explain anything? Jenny's got questions.
Minnesota state aid payment, are we expecting more this year?
Yes. Yeah, I think we get a second payment before the end of the year, so, yeah.
This year is not a budget year, so it might not be in jeopardy this year. But.
No, but they split it into 2 payments, so I need to, we should have possibly, but I'll look at that.
Yeah.
We will get that money though,
Yeah, we can't be surprised.
so.
Okay, then my next question is electricity reimbursement. And is this electricity reimbursement from the county?
Yes,
Okay, so we keep budgeting for $5,000, but in 23 and 24, we only got $285, and this year we've got no dollars. So are we not collecting electricity reimbursement from the county?
I don't know how that's worked in the past.
So
It would be-
in the past, Karen was tracking it. And then she was supposed to transfer that knowledge on to Lynn,
Okay.
that we would just pay it throughout the year. And then about this time of the year, she was supposed to bill the county for reimbursement.
So apparently either they haven't been billed in the past, or they're just not paying it.
And with the new agreement, I'm not sure how that looks. And so
Yeah.
Michelle and I kind of briefly brushed on this the other day.
Yep,
And we haven't gotten enough.
so I'll need to direct Lynn to, because I have the totals on the electricity bill, so we can, because theoretically, we only have one leg
Right.
of,
So, and that was the discussion. That's how it came to be, was that
yep,
75% of that intersection belongs to.
yeah, which should be based on the, oh, hang on.
42, 12, 11, 36.
Yes, I should find this because.
I don't even know my own work phone number.
So basically, so one of the reasons that if you look down, there's what Bob said about the number. We're way over budget, and that's because there's a bill in there for fixing the pedestrian crossing sign up at the schools that we've been fighting with the county on, that we're gonna try to get money back out of them. Anyway, but.
Is it under stoplight electric? Is that-
Yes, yep. So, if you take that out, I think I noted that the average cost for, so if you look on page 2, there's a note that includes the repair bill, so roughly it's $245 a month, so if you take 75% of that times 12, the reimbursement should have been significantly more than $285, so, I'm not sure why in the past it was only that amount, so, but I will work with Lynn, and we will get an invoice out to the county,
Yeah.
and then see what they say, what we can do, so.
That's all I want.
Okay. Anybody got anything else?
Felt everything?
No,
Light service station. I keep paying and the repairs and maintenance was the required radon and asbestos testing we had to do for the revised lease, and every time I drive by the building, I just send a little prayer to the universe that says, please send me a letter that says you're vacating the building. So far it hasn't worked yet.
Because we could sell it and then we could use that for a new.
Yes. Okay, yeah. Compost. Mosquito and weed control, you will note I did, make a note under 4328-1340. And that is based on Bob's, education of me. We don't do a lot of spraying, but, the pucks that we use are getting more and more expensive. So,
But we had a conversation about it last night too, when I was going through all this, because I was saying they are expensive.
Mhm.
But what we're saving on the actual cost of the spray and then the wear and tear on to drive around and spray, and then the guys overtime, for this. It's saving money in that aspect, so I think it's weighing out pretty good.
Finding a better performance using the pucks. I mean, while it is a little bit more costly upfront, the return on it is immense.
where do you use the pucks at mostly?
Standing water, so we go back into the oxbows, and we actually use them on the wastewater plant as well for person ditches that are sitting, we can fill them there. They're expensive because they're designed to last 180 days.
Okay,
And the key is getting the in right before the water temperature hits 70 degrees.
Yeah.
And it just, basically what they do is they disrupt the symbiotic cycle of the mosquito.
Or I live in Middleview, I don't think I had 2 mosquitoes all last summer.
Nope. Last couple of years, we haven't had any.
I need to figure out how to get me some of those for the fairgrounds and that big honking stormwater plant we got.
Yeah,
I know a guy.
but.
Okay.
It's in city limits, I know a guy.
Okay. All right, shade tree. Did you get a chance to talk to our friend?
I left a message for him,
Okay.
so I will follow up.
Yep. Cemetery. Then,
Yeah,
okay, Civic Center.
I got nothing.
Okay.
Yeah, yell or raise your hand.
Yeah, Supply Park.
I'm curious about under total supplies, we've got resale snacks, water, ice cream. And then for some reason, somebody put money in popping candy.
Yeah, we're still trying to figure that out. That was an ad that shouldn't have been added. So we'll probably end up moving that.
And back up.
Yep, and get rid of that. So I think, I'm trying to remember now, because I think Lynn and I had a conversation about this. I don't know if they were trying to separate it out to make it easier for sales tax, but we have to pay sales tax on the whole kit and caboodle anyway. So I will have Lynn journal entry that back in and we will get rid of that line item. So.
The only other thing is, you know, when I first got on city council, that Splash Park, the whole operations for the whole year usually cost us around $30,000. And I mean, when I look at this, that next year, it could be over 100,000. And that's a huge expense to the city. And I know it's fun for kids and all that, but it's something we probably,
They've done a pretty good job of getting outside from everything.
yeah, but it's still, they are.
Cities do have to have some fun things for people.
No, I understand. I'm just saying it's becoming a really big cost. It's just something I think we should.
Yeah,
And I would hope the promotional stuff takes off too, so. Which it also help offset it more.
I mean, the one thing that, I mean, Bob and I had a little conversation this morning about this. I mean, it is, what, almost 25 years old?
Just about.
And so at some point, we're gonna need to evaluate whether or not, I mean, this year, one of the issues we had pretty significant, some pretty significant failures where we were down at least a couple days. And 3 out of the 4 features aren't functioning and it's too expensive to replace the piping, and stuff. So I think Counselor Garrell is right. I mean, at some point we do need to, and maybe this is more of a brainstorming study session type thing that, we think about, what is its future? I mean, and one of the things besides the interns, or not the interns, but the attendants, one of the things we do have to recognize is that a third of the Splash Park regular hours of a third of the public works supervisor time goes to this budget. So absent the Splash Park, then those amounts would go to the levy, but the rest of it comes off the levy, so there's things that we have to evaluate. But given the age of the facility, it's like our other space planning stuff that we've been doing, we do need to look at, what's the ultimate useful life and what does it morph into or look like in the future? So. Question?
Yep.
Park maintenance.
Yeah, where's that camping money?
I just had a conversation with Lynn. I have asked her to basically spend 2 days next week getting us up to date on reconciliation. So, couple things, obviously learning payroll, we had the bank conversion, and then in its infinite wisdom, both, is it Square, Sling, whatever?
Sling.
River Pass, they all changed their report formatting, so she's actually had to spend hours finding reports that she used to use and whatever, but she, has a plan for next week, so on the 4th, I'll have updated numbers.
So where's the money though? Is it, we received?
Yes, yep, the money's in the bank.
Okay.
The money's in the bank. It just hasn't gotten into the finance software under reconciliation because she can't find the damn reports. So we had the same problem with the Civic Center, and but because that's a little easier to deal with, was a little easier to deal with, she got those numbers in there. So Civic Center's up to date, but River Pass is not up to date. So
But it'll be done before the end of the year.
correct. Yep. In fact, I have asked her to have it ready so that on the 11th, when I do the truth and taxation, you'll have clean numbers and accurate numbers. So.
The only other thing I have on here is I think the CIP amount for 2025 was supposed to say 375, not 735. I think that got fixed.
I'll fix that.
No, you don't have to.
Every once in a while I have dyslexic fingers.
Yeah.
Quick question, what is the Solheim Field Supply?
That's gonna be in,
So,
well, it was 4216, it's now in 455535.
Solheim is the field, the baseball field.
13,
Yep.
13.
So Solheim used to be a special revenue fund, which made no sense to me.
Mhm.
So, to Bob's chagrin, I got rid of the special revenue fund and just wrapped it into the park maintenance budget, because
She
it's,
moved it.
I know, I moved
You
it.
didn't tell me.
I'm so mean. Those that don't like change have hated me for the last 3 years, because I've made so many changes in the way that we do budgeting. It's unbelievable, but,
Oh,
so the staff at, so the, folks that manage the Solheim Field are allowed to, we have a specific charge at Mars, and so. Followed by.
So years ago, they council authorized to contribute to this with minimal expense on, because they were trying to be self-sufficient. They were needing some help, and so the $2,000 that's line item here is for, they'll go out and get some weed spray, some containers, some fertilizer, minimal stuff. Just so they have a line, they have a Mars. So if they need a new nozzle or new hose.
Is that the same for the light up Princeton supplies then?
Yes. Yeah, so the way that, in general, the chamber has taken on Light Up Princeton, but because we provide some, what I will call ground support, if the guys say are out helping and they need to go to Marbs and get, I don't know, electrical cords or something to repair something, they can basically, they'll charge it to the city and then we will send the bill to the chamber. And then the chamber will reimburse us. I don't know that we've had to do that.
I haven't seen any coming from this yet, but it's just to expedite it so that we
Yep.
can keep the process moving.
Yeah, because otherwise then you gotta call Cam and then she's gotta go get it and then it's just easier if we can just, hey, we're out there, we need this, go get it. And then they'll take care of it. So, but chamber's getting pretty self-sufficient.
They are, we've just, like Michelle said, this year is just gonna ground support, we went out and help set up a little bit. Move stuff out there and, like basically migrating away from it,
Yeah,
but we still assist.
so it's now landed in the fairgrounds.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
They get a ton of volunteers, though, they really do.
Yes,
They're
actually,
really
we,
good about it.
other than our support in terms of the amount of the electrical use and the fact that they now have a very large shipping container on grounds,
Mhm.
which again helps Bob's guys out because they don't have to pull stuff out of the garage or move stuff over. It's all on site now and they just have a big shipping container and that's where they're gonna store everything, so. We do get a little taste. They do pay us rent on an annual payment for that, so a little taste, so. Anyway, I think it's working out well. Okay. All right, I think that's it for Public Works unless anybody had any questions on any of the CIP items. Not, then we can mosey on over to the wastewater treatment plant.
My first question is under land rental.
Yes,
Is that paid monthly or when is that?
quarterly.
Quarterly, so
Yep.
we'll still get the one less.
Yeah, Mr. Braun is very prompt in terms of his payments. And if he's gonna be late, he literally will call me and say, hey, I'm gonna be a day or two late. I'm like, okay.
And I need a reminder of sewer availability. Remind me what that is, because that used to be like a lot more money and now we're.
So the sewer availability is when folks pull a building permit and they hook up to the system. So, so like I think they're still working on building out Fountain Place. I don't think they have all the units built. So each unit will pay $2,000 to connect to the, so the next Briggs apartment building, they'll pay based on size of the sewer pipe that they put in. West Plains, when they get going, all their connections. So it's the connection to the actual main. There's a water availability charge for the water side too. Whackensack, yeah. Yeah.
Right. My next question is under membership and subscriptions.
Okay.
Cause it's like some years it's $1,800, some years it's $22, some years it's $1,500. I mean, I don't know what those subscriptions are. There's no list here.
I will get you a list. Chris and I will get you a list. Unless Chris knows off the top of his
I
head.
have not a clue what that is.
Okay.
Yeah, because so
Memberships and subscriptions.
like in 22 it was 1,800 and then 23 it was 1,400. And then we keep budgeting for 1,500, but we're not spending hardly anything anymore.
Does that VNC licenses come under that?
No, that's 1189.
$11.86,
1186, I'm sorry. I think back in the day, there was some memberships that Thomas Mesh had signed us up for. It was some journals and magazines that we were receiving, and I think they just never renewed them. And then there was a membership to, was a sewer. Can't remember what it was. It was a sewer
So-
something
Yep.
association.
So I looked back and, I went back to the one that has $1,800, but I'm able to pull up the general ledger. So of that $1,800, almost 1,200 of it was the coalition of greater Minnesota cities,
Which we're no longer.
which we're no longer a member of. And then there was 4 Capital One Bank charges, so I'd have to look to see. So then SHI International would be, that's a computer thing. And then Windall Technology, which was very minor, so I'd have to pull so maybe we can reduce that line item. Just throw a couple $100 in it.
Yeah.
Save some money. So I can make that adjustment.
And then this isn't a 2026 budget thing, but we've got 2 line items here. So there's conference school training fees and safety materials and training. And under safety materials and training, there's a charge of $1,024. I think that should have been up maybe in the conference school training fee.
Yes, we need to move that. That is correct. And we'll get that journal entry on for the ones. That was a fumble finger on Chris's part.
Pretty much.
It happens.
Yeah.
And then my next question on the next page is diesel fuel. We keep putting in 6,000, but I wonder if that could go down a little bit.
Well, so
That's for the generator.
some is for the generator, some of it is for, majority of it goes to the jetter, and then the remaining is for his big generator down at the plant. So, today we transferred fuel last week, and then today we finished transferring fuel out of the shop. So when I take a fuel, my next fuel delivery is gonna get billed to
Yeah.
wastewater. So it doesn't get used frequently, but it needs to stay, it needs to be there. We could probably reduce it by $1,000.
Yeah.
But it's a definite need.
Did you say we could reduce it by 1,000
Yes.
to 5?
Yes.
Can do that.
I don't wanna reduce it too much because if the proverbial shit hits the fan, I need fuel.
So you're saying 22, we used $7,300.
Right. So it happens.
I think my only other question is, we don't have a principal PFA loan.
Yeah, I'll talk to Abdo about that, and I'm trying to remember, I think, okay, no, I have the answer for this. The loan is not budgetable, it's not a budget,
Interest.
but the interest is,
I
yes.
think we learned that.
Yep, we learned that from Abdo.
Yeah.
Oh. Any questions on the capital expenses?
Do you have anything?
What is relocation for 25,000?
Oh, that's the,
That sounded like
no. You have to put both lines together. It's the industrial park lift station controller relocation. It's the same lift station that we fixed the pumps on this year. You did a budget amendment. We're moving the controllers up out of the bottom of the lift station up top.
All the controls are down below. We want to get them up top for employee safety and
Yeah.
security.
Okay.
Yeah, it's just that it wrapped funny, so.
What is the game show? Cause I just said, what is relocation for $45,000? Thank you. Answering a game.
Relocation for 500.
Yeah,
Got it, okay. I don't have anything else.
Well,
that's all I got.
Hey, Joe?
That's it. Thank you. You know, these are
Let's do it.
very exciting.
Don't have any questions?
Yes, please note that the motion did change from earlier today to now, because we found out we do have to pay sales tax on the truck.
Oh, so that's the dollar amount.
Yeah, so it's corrected on the piece that's handed out,
paper.
and it should be corrected in onboard, so.
I move to approve the November 2025 check register containing checks 89888 to 89925 and ACH payments 251699 to 251726 in the amount of $404,163.44.
Any motion?
A second.
Have a second. Questions? All in favor, say aye.
I
Opposed? Carried. Michelle.
Yes. Another one.
Because we didn't
That
have,
was anticlimactic.
That was fast.
Very. What?
yeah, because we're in between
Yeah, those are
payroll,
usually.
so,
There's no payroll this time.
yeah, there's no payroll this time. Although there could have been, because Lynn said, do you want to add that? I'm like, no, we can wait till the end. Let's see, pretty short, report, perimeter fence is more or less complete at the airport. It looks really nice. We found out that the $2,000 for the computer on the field system is actually eligible for reimbursement, so that will go on the next reimbursement request. Jen Edison, our city engineer from WSB, is leaving the firm. Tomorrow is her last day, so, Kevin Kruger is gonna be our new engineer. I attended an investment seminar, on Thursday last week from one of our, broker folks. It was pretty interesting. So I'm work with Mandy, just try to continue to make our money work for us as much as we can. We have filled one of the 2 GM2 positions. We're moving forward, on the scanning project. I think we'll have a meeting next week. And we just keep plugging away on it. And, happy Thanksgiving, everybody.
Anybody else? Everybody else?
The new engineer gonna be all wrapped up on the Third Street deal when that comes around?
Yes, Kevin actually, has been, a support partner. He was somewhat involved on 7th Avenue. He's been with the firm, I think, 10 years.
Yeah, I worked with Kevin in the past.
Yeah.
That's what he's doing.
Very
Yeah.
good.
Yeah, I don't think we're gonna have any issues. When we met with WSB, they, brought in one of their upper level people, and, I did raise some issues about some costs, and, so we're gonna have some conversations about how some of the things they bill us for get changed, maybe looking at somewhat of a retainer thing. And you know, while I don't necessarily look forward to changing engineering firms, I was pretty blunt and said, you know, for a city our size, their fee structure is a little rich, so, I'm gonna try to make them work a little bit, you know.
Change.
Yeah.
So for the new guy, it's kind of a promotion for him, I suppose. I mean.
No, I think it's just an assignment,
Okay.
so.
No, but if he has to have the background with our project, he's not totally.
No, he's not, and, I mean, he's,
Yes, there.
yeah, so. That's all I got.
Okay, committee reports. Yield to Keith. Yeah, very much discussed.
Well, I just thought I'd give an update real quick on the commission meeting from last week. There are actually quite a few things that got decided. The commission approved, moving forward with issuing, RFPs for phase 2 regarding minor materials construction and the new transformer at the north substation. And those transformers are typically 2 to 3 year lead times. That's why we need to get started on those now. On the regular agenda, we had the same presentation from Isaac, just focusing on the utility side, to give that information to the commission. Presented the Third Street feasibility report draft to the commission as, again, just more background. We did approve Smith Schaefer for another 3 years as our auditor, which is the city's auditor, so we're gonna continue to work with them. Approved the major materials selection for phase 2. That was a combination of transformers and pads and cable and things like that. Came in 4% over engineer's estimate, so not too bad, but things are trending a little bit that way, especially on material costs, nothing too surprising there. And then the commission did approve the 2026 budget fees and rates, at the end of the meeting, after reviewing everything. I also gave the commission an update, as well. So the commission and the council had talked at the joint meeting in 2024 about the South Industrial Park doing some service territory transfers. And I've been talking with businesses out there. We've reached out to the utility on that, been working with them for a few months on negotiations. And then suddenly I got an email stating that they wanted to make an offer to buy the utility. So provided that information to the commission. The commission recognized, Nick Nowak actually, spent, some time talking about, the local asset and how important it was to him for public power and being part of the community. So commission, wasn't interested in pursuing that, and in fact, they directed staff to, draft up a resolution affirming our commitment to local public power and being here and serving the community and being an integral part of infrastructure and continuing to play in that role. So we did talk about that as well.
And then we'll be acting on that draft at our next meeting. And then I guess it would be the commission's hope out there that the city council would back up our decisions in what we do. Probably approaching that. We don't know how, I mean, a lot of unknowns at this point, but we would just like solid commitment from all of the local power is, we've made strides head and shoulders as far as working, or better working relationship for, improving our system with our capital improvement plans, just going way forward, just in leaps and bounds, and, why back out of that now at this point? There's no reason to. It's just, one of those stumps, I guess. There's no action or nothing at this point. Does anybody have any questions for Keith? Not anybody else have any reports?
I had a chamber meeting. They're basically, it was a lot of talk about the light up Princeton and stuff, so a lot of planning is involved in all that. Nothing really else.
Now, there was a dry run on Facebook here the other day. It looked nice from that perspective, so.
There's a lot of work that goes into setting up trees now. People can adopt a tree and decorate it.
Legion has one. Definitely.
Yeah. So,
A lot of the community input is just.
yeah,
I like the kids' artwork.
yeah,
Yeah.
that was fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, they passed around pictures that kids submitted and voted on which ones they liked the most. And now they're trying to recreate their little Christmas drawing with lights.
Mhm.
To recreate their drawings. It's gonna be really cute.
Yeah, they actually, they did a Facebook post yesterday with the winners.
Oh,
For
they
each of
did.
them, yeah. For
Yeah.
each of the
I'll
drawings.
have to go look at that instead.
Yeah.
Yeah, they want to expand that next year to a higher grade level than what they
Yeah.
did this year. That's a plan.
Well, and how exciting for a little 4-year-old to see something in lights that he drew or she drew, and that's gonna be really cool.
And we're gonna have snow?
Yeah.
Yeah, looks like it.
Good, I think. Okay, well, that too. So,
Gonna be a little chilly Saturday. Pretty. Anything else?
Motion to adjourn?
We have a motion to adjourn. Second. Please say aye.
I.
Opposed? We are adjourned.